product-led growth oftentimes is a bit of a misunderstood term. I think a lot of people feel like they can add a free tier or like a trial to their product and it's suddenly gonna like take off. But it's not something that can really be shoehorned into the product unless it organically and naturally makes sense, right? And is like embedded into the essence of your product. With that being said, I think any product or any service can be more product led, right? By letting the product drive the marketing efforts, the sales efforts, the adoption efforts, and that those are the type of organizations that have that ethos, find the most success on Supademo. We're lucky though in the sense that our product by nature is a viral product. It has a viral loop embedded into it, right? So you create a Supademo not so you can watch it yourself at home, but so you could share it out with an employee and to share it out with a prospect or a viewer. And I think when someone who hasn't experienced something like a Supademo is able to kind of click through and at their own pace absorb information and interact with your product without having to sign up or set up modules or book a sales call, that's when they're like, oh my God, that was really cool. How do I add this to my own product experience, my own onboarding experience, my own support docs?
You're listening to Forum Founders. We tell stories of immigrant and first-gen entrepreneurs, investors, operators, and ecosystem builders. And on the show, you hear incredible stories that often go untold. Joseph Lee is the co-founder and CEO of Supademo, the world's fastest-growing AI-powered demo platform. Originally from Seoul, he grew up in Vancouver and now lives in New York City. Joseph has been building companies since age 14. He was previously a co-founder of Freshline, formerly Coastline Market, and North America's first demand-driven seafood marketplace. I'm really excited to have him on the show. Welcome to Forum Founders, Joseph.
Thanks for having me, Andy. Yeah, excited to chat today.
So I talked a little bit about your origin story, but if you want to tell the audience, especially the audience are a lot of immigrants, a lot of first gens, people moving around for opportunity. So take it away.
Yeah. No, I think your title is perfect for someone like me. I guess I'm a double immigrant. Thanks for having me. As you alluded to, I was born in Korea. That's kind of where I was born, and I spent the first 7 years of my life. So that's really where I forged my initial identity. Luckily, I think thanks to my parents, I was able to kind of move to Vancouver and get exposure to everything that I know today, kind of growing up in Canada. And it was an incredible experience growing up in the suburbs of Vancouver, watching Dragon's Den,
Nice.
Getting enamored by entrepreneurship and the ability to kind of create something from nothing and have, hundreds, if not thousands of people use your product day in and day out. And grew up in Vancouver, went to school there, studied computer science and business.
Cool.
At the University of British Columbia. Built my first company there, scaled my first company there. So definitely have deep roots in Vancouver, Canada. And moved to New York City a little bit over a year ago to start to scale my current company, Supademo.
Before we get to 2 points that are like super interesting about your early story, but were your parents have their own business, or was that, how do you actually get into like seeing Dragon's Den or like being engulfed in that world?
Yeah, it was a bit of like an indirect journey into entrepreneurship. I would say, I didn't grow up in a very wealthy family. We weren't, bottom of the rung poor by any means, but we definitely had to think about our finances. So that was kind of top of mind for me growing up. Pretty much as long as I can remember. So I think that mindset of scarcity kind of gave myself obsession to think about how I could put myself in better footing, whether it was getting a job, whether it was creating something, whether it's kind of manifesting my own destiny. And I think from a young age, I think that kind of belief system instilled me to look at shows, look at things like Dragon's Den, and got kind of a natural affinity uh, and an interest in that topic as a
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah, that hunger to grab something that you might not have had growing up too. Two things. You started your first business at 14. And then the second thing that actually caught my interest too was you said you created businesses to fund going to UBC, right?
I
So
did.
tell about those two experiences, starting a business at 14. What was that? And then all the businesses that you started during your university career.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't accurately, looking back on it now, I wouldn't call all of them businesses per se. I would say they're more projects.
I mean, your LinkedIn says a patchwork of mostly unsuccessful ventures that help pay for university.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think the first one I had ever kind of inadvertently started was um, kind of retail arbitraging. So what I would do is buy electronics, different kind of cell phones, tablets, computers in bulk with all the birthday money I had kind of saved up over the years, and I would flip them. I would flip them one by one, meeting people in parking lots, in their houses, inside of shopping malls, in like obscure areas of Vancouver, Surrey, kind of the surrounding suburbs. Yeah, and I would mark up the product like probably 2x at times, oftentimes for 60, 70% profit. Um, Very odd thing for a 14, kind of 15-year-old to be doing after school. But yeah, that's how I made my first couple $1,000s. I ended up starting a couple different ventures, as I alluded to in my LinkedIn profile afterwards. One was an organic soy candle company. Very hot market now. It's a huge
Yeah,
market. Organic
for sure.
candles, not so big back then, and we definitely didn't know how to execute as well as I do now. Started a clothing brand. I also started kind of a web development consulting agency. Um, After I started getting my hands dirty with HTML, CS, and JavaScript, until yeah, I landed on my first kind of venture backed opportunity in university.
And then that venture back opportunity was Coastline Market, right? How did you tell a little bit about that story and how did you get into that line of business?
Yeah, I mean that's the first question everyone asks. Like, how
Yeah,
and why did you get into
right.
seafood? It's very niche, very esoteric. I was lucky enough to have a friend that I grew up with, who I was very close with in high school. We went different paths in university, but we kind of reconvened because I think both of us had a thirst for entrepreneurship and creating something from nothing. And yeah, this was in our second year of university when we were both off doing internships at different companies. We just wanted to work on a side project. We wanted to build something cool. So we started researching and kind of throwing ideas off the wall. And one of the ones that really stuck was Robert, my co-founder for that venture, his experiences in northern New Brunswick, kind of like remote parts of the Maritimes in Canada. Um, how he had kind of talked to fishermen, lobster fishermen throughout his childhood, and they would go through this pattern, behavioral pattern of going dock to dock to dock in small villages, selling bits and pieces of their catch before going into the main dock or the main city to kind of sell to the broker or the packer. So we started digging in and asking ourselves, why are they going through all this trouble? Because this is costing a lot of time for what doesn't seem like a lot of gain. And through our research, we found out that the seafood supply chain was super inefficient, laden with a lot of unnecessary middlemen between source and
Mm-hmm.
sale. And ultimately, that left pennies on the dollar for fishermen to put in their pocket. But not only that, restaurants were getting, less traceable seafood that's spent, more time out of the water, lower quality. So yeah, we wanted to create a better system where we could kind of democratize access so that fishermen, restaurants, they could kind of connect directly, source directly, without having so many middlemen. And yeah, the idea kind of took off from there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome because I feel like I saw that change. I have a friend who her family business was doing seafood in the Bay Area.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, during COVID, that also changed where they were initially selling it to restaurants. And then There's like, oh, my, no one's like business has gone down dramatically during COVID. So then they spun out like a direct to consumer version. But it's so true. When I was like talking to them about it, just
Yeah.
there's so many middlemen. That is a story that is like constant with
Yeah.
that like physical world industry that's going to you know physical audiences.
Yeah. No, they might be one of our customers, or they might have worked with us. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. And then so Coastline became Freshline. That was your seafood arc, as some may say. But let's go to Supademo. I think you have a story about like early Supademo through working with Freshline, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So the transition from Coastline market to Freshline was really a byproduct of our pandemic pivot. So just like the seafood company you mentioned, when the economy shut down, we had essentially a B2B marketplace for seafood. So we were kind of a marketplace, not too different from Uber, obviously with a lot more moving parts. But when in Canada the pandemic hit, every restaurant had essentially shut down. So we went from doing millions of dollars in revenue to essentially doing tens of thousands of dollars pretty much overnight. And there was really a lack of clarity in like where the market would go moving forward. So we ended up pivoting the company to become essentially a business in a box for these wholesalers and distributors that now wanted to sell direct to consumers. And also sell to chefs directly through kind of an online platform where they could take payments, do invoicing, picking and packing specific to perishable seafood, meat, et cetera, et cetera. But through that transition, we went from, building a marketplace to building a B2B SaaS product. And one of the hardest things that I had to deal with was trying to explain our product's features, benefits, workflows, and get people to understand the value of what they would get by using our product. So just by using marketing lingo, that was very difficult. I would try like recording videos. That would take a very, very long time, a lot of scripting and recording and re-recording, only to have it be out of date as soon as our product changed, which it did a lot. But what I realized is when I did get them on more of a back and forth interactive session, that was engaging, short, and again, kind of step by step and guided. That's when they got that aha moment. And they're like, "Holy crap! I get it now. How do I get started?" So I knew that this was an opportunity space that was obviously massive. Everyone has the need to like demonstrate and explain their product out internally or externally. So I kind of kept it in my back pocket as an idea I wanted to pursue, a problem space I wanted to pursue. And sure enough, when I left my company in 2022, end of 2022, kind of came back to the drawing board, and Supademo was born shortly there after that.
And tell me about that early story of being like, this is the product that I want to dedicate my time and energy and effort into.
Oh man, I don't think it's ever as concrete, right? So we often have survivorship bias, and I think we convince ourselves looking back that I knew that this was the idea, or I knew this was the problem space I wanted to go after, but in reality, I didn't know. I was probably juggling 5, 6 different ideas, and I probably had 3 different MVPs that I was actively like bringing on new customers for. So I was kind of putting out feelers, and I was also working with a lot of different types of co-founders. So I was very much in the camp that you shouldn't limit yourself to like one opportunity. You should try to, do multiple things, experience multiple people, and through that endeavor, I think you're going to get better clarity on the type of person you want to work with, the type of idea, the type of product, the type of like growth motion that is probably both the most exciting for you and interesting for you, but also which one is the best fit for you based on your unique skills as an entrepreneur, right? So for example, I'm probably, I'm interested in like battery tech, but I'm probably not a very good person to work in like renewables or batteries because I just lack the skills. Right. So I think both of those things kind of have to line up.
You got to match a lot of different not only the interest, but like what you can actually execute on and how you
Yes.
can attract talent too. And really, can you tell a bit about that timeline? So 2022, you left. You're juggling 5 different MVPs. How how were you, uh, you know, divvying up the time and energy and effort across those? Like
Yeah.
one per day in a single week?
So yeah, so I wouldn't say all of them happened concurrently. Some of them
Yeah.
did happen concurrently. I actually ran a pretty structured process, and like I wrote a couple blog posts about both finding the right, like the right and ideal co-founder for you, and evaluating and helping the right kind of ideas or opportunities that you want to work on, letting them
Hmm.
kind of bubble through the top in kind of a methodical way. So happy to kind of share that in the show notes afterwards. But yeah, I ran a pretty structured process and ran it like a full-time job. So I would do like co-founder matching. I would be doing research, validating, and essentially I treated it like a March Madness bracket. So you would have like all these different
Yeah.
ideas and all these different co-founders that you were interested in,
Yeah.
and then you would just start like a process of elimination based on your interests, your strengths, their strengths, market opportunity, viability, until a handful of them kind of bubbled up. And then, yeah, from there, it was kind of a gut decision at the end.
Yeah, let's talk about the winner then. So initially, even you were mentioning it before, there were probably 2 existing ways of how people can get that job done, right? It's either screen recording technology, and being able to record your screen to show a demo, or there are probably also existing demo tools out there.
Mm-hmm.
How does Supademo differentiate and like 10x against those
Yeah.
incumbents or existing ways?
Part of it is execution, like the craftsmanship of the product. Part of it also, I think, is riding kind of the timing of the market as well. I think at no point in, I think, technological history has it been easier to take an existing problem, build a solution around it, and also be able to amplify the value you bring to it and the functionality and the feature set that you have by leveraging generative AI. So I think um, we've been able to tap into a confluence of many different factors, but bar none, I think I always try to not differentiate or compete based on features, because I think
Mm.
everyone can continue layering on features. What we really primarily focus on is how do we build the easiest, fastest, most intuitive experience possible
Mhm.
where people just get it like that in seconds. So we've essentially built the fastest and easiest way to create kind of professional conversion focused product demos for many different use cases, not just in sales, but in onboarding and training and in customer success and product marketing, in a package that essentially gets out of your way. It's very easy to use without any technical hiccups, clunkiness.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So with that said, are your ICPs and audience mainly non-technical, business focused team members within an organization?
Yeah, I would say the three primary kind of segments we serve, all of them are primarily in B2B SaaS.
Cool.
So companies that operate in B2B SaaS. And I would say the three main chunks are probably customer success slash onboarding. The other
Mhm.
side is sales and enablement. And lastly would be kind of growth and product marketing. But ultimately, I think I alluded to this in the beginning. Um, any knowledge worker, right? If you think about it, has this innate need to demonstrate whatever workflow, feature, product in a more engaging, fruitful, adoption focused way, right? It could be as simple as training like a new employee on how to use
Yeah.
Zoom, all the way down to you closing a deal, right? Through like a screen sharing call, not unlike this. They share that common trait. And if you think about it, there's really no standard way to do that and to demonstrate like products and workflow. And I think that's kind of the grand vision that we see is how do we become the standard and the most effective way to demonstrate products.
Yeah, I love it. It's I think in my initial email outreach to you, I saw it, and I still have to execute on it. But I was like, oh, this is something that I can use with the companies that I work with, especially in demonstrating the product, how I think about, you know, ways to optimize, especially their onboarding.
Hmm.
And one of you mentioned earlier that you've written a lot of blogs, but you also are pretty like prolific LinkedIn writer as well. There are a couple things that really come to mind. So I want to break it down, especially in this part. But the first thing you talked about PLG and Supademo's PLG. I would love to learn about your learning from launching and then iterating. I think there was a article that was kind of like talking about segmentation, and that was a recent big win for you guys. Basically, people who are kicking the tires versus people who
Hmm.
are like ready to take action. So, what are your PLG learnings from Superdemo?
I mean, there's so many. I think product-led growth oftentimes is a bit of a like a misunderstood term. Um, I think a lot of people feel like they can add a free tier or like a trial to their product, and it's suddenly gonna like take off. But it's not something that can really be shoehorned into the product unless it organically and naturally makes sense, right? And is like embedded into the essence of your product.
Right.
Um, with that being said, I think any product or any service can be more product led, right? By letting the product drive the marketing efforts, the sales efforts, the adoption efforts, and that those are the type of organizations that have that ethos, find the most success on Supademo. We're lucky though in the sense that um, our product by nature is a viral product. It has a viral loop embedded into it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you create a super demo not so you can watch it yourself at home, but so you could share it out with an employee and to share it out with a prospect or a viewer. And I think when someone who hasn't experienced something like a super demo is able to kind of click through and at their own pace absorb information and interact with your product without having to sign up or set up modules
Mm-hmm.
or book a sales call, that's when they're like, oh my god, that was really cool. How do I add this to my own product experience, my own onboarding experience, my own support docs?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that obviously creates a bit of a snowball effect. And everything we've built, functionality, plans, trial, like growth motion wise, has been centered around how do we get people to, number one, use Supademo on a more habitual, like volume basis and embedded across different workflows on websites, support docs, onboarding flows, emails. Um, and then how do we then make it easy for the people interacting with that super demo to recognize it as a super demo and then to sign up with very little friction. So one of the things that we
Mm-hmm.
do is we actually let people try the product without even signing up. You can download the extension, start creating interactive demos. You can go into the editor and play around with the hotspots and change text and really get like 80% of the functionality you can get with a signed in account. And only after proving value and them being able to accurately assess for themselves, is this what I'm looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Then we give them the avenue to sign up. And even when they do sign up, we're not asking them for their credit card. They get auto enrolled into our highest tier plan so that, hey, we're letting the product speak for itself. You don't need to talk to a salesperson. You can try every feature. And we're confident in, again, the craftsmanship of our product that enough of you are going to have a positive, exceptional experience and stick around and, get access to our higher tier plans.
Yeah, that's a very elite way of basically connecting. Hey, this is the functionality of the product that naturally has a one to many function, and then how do we actually get more of those use cases of one to many? That's super cool. Another thing related was how'd you get your first few customers and what you're doing for growth right now? Because I think I saw somewhere where you were initially signing up to a bunch of different product just to get their email and then responding to that email to be like, hey, this is what I'm doing with your like Zapier or other stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is you got to exhaust your network, right? You got to do things that
Yeah.
don't scale and exhaust your network. So the first thing I did is, I'd been a founder for about 7 years before starting Supademo. So the first step was I'm going to look through my LinkedIn list of every founder or every friend that could be a customer. And I'm going to ask them for a favor. I'm like, hey, I've built this product. I have like high degree of conviction that this is going to be valuable to you.
Mhm.
And to prove it, you don't even have to lift a finger. I'm going to create the demo for you, right? Like if you have a PLG product, or if I can get access to it, I'll just
Mhm.
create it. If not, give me platform access. I'll read your support docs. I'll read your product updates, and I'll use that to infer what I should include in the demo, and I'll do that work for them. So by making it really hard for people to say no, you're able to kind of start that snowball effect and get the first base of customers that, um, if leveraged properly, they're going to be able to bring in other customers through that viral loop. The other piece was exactly like you mentioned. After you kind of exhaust your initial list, again, how do you follow that same cadence of making it frictionless for people? So
Yeah.
I would post on Reddit, for example, often on like r/SaaS. I think they
Yeah.
it's
Nice.
less. They flag a lot more posts nowadays, but back then they didn't. So I would just say, hey, like send me your website and I will create a product demo for you and I'll give you edit access. And
Yeah.
I would deliberately post the demo in line in the comments so that other people that maybe weren't DMing me their website would see these demos and be like, whoa, holy crap, this is really cool. I'm going to try it out myself. And same ethos on like product updates, signing up for products when I get feature releases or product updates, responding in line with the super demo of the latest features and saying, you should try embedding this directly in your product blog because customers are reading about this. They probably don't even know what it is. They probably don't even know how to find it in the product, why it's valuable. Now, if you can guide them through visually in context, in line, they're going to have a much better shot at adopting whatever you're pushing out to them.
Yeah. I love those three examples. I think it's very clear that you think about these like how to interact in a very authentic way, how to interact with potential customers in a way that's like value first. And what you said about Reddit, it's probably one of those. Like I also on my growth work also like mess around with Reddit too. But I think that community is particularly helpful for us as people who are trying to promote something to understand whether it's like what is the line of like is it helpful or is it spammy and like they let you know.
It's a very fine
Really,
balance.
yeah, that's a pretty cool example. This third thing, you talked about wasted time and killed momentum. I think for me, even as a founder as well of so 3 years ago I started my first venture. um, the momentum stuff at the earlier stages was the hardest thing to really like. Once you go negative on the momentum, it was really, really tough. So talk about like, I know there was like 10 different things, maybe pick one and then talk about that on momentum and killer of momentum for you.
Oh man, that's tough. Um, yeah, and to be super candid, this is like a problem that we dealt with at my last company. I think we at some point hit a plateau, and I think once you have enough baggage and you have enough like inertia, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very, very tough to break out of it, and that's why a lot of investors and entrepreneurs say like growth solves all problems, right? It
Mm-hmm.
masks everything. We've been lucky enough. So far to be growing at a very rapid pace. And to be completely frank, the pace of growth is not always in our control, right? So like what we really think is let's execute on the things that we know we are world class at and we know we are good at,
Mm-hmm.
and let's operate off of the presumption that in addition to us choosing the right opportunity space, the right market is going to translate into growth. But that's not always the case, right? If your market isn't hot, it's an esoteric market with like slow decision makers, or you just get unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how hard you execute, you're just not going to grow fast enough. And that's kind of the tar pit that I felt like I was stuck in the past. Luckily, we are in a massive market, even with different tooling or different alternatives, I think it's not a winner takes all market. It's one that is very much growing and will continue to grow into the future. And so we focus on just execution. Like, how do we optimize for speed while keeping the quality bar high, um, and and just obsess over customers, right? How do we build things that our customers are obsessed with? And if we are consistent in delivering on that rubric, people are going to notice. They're going to be like, well, holy crap, these guys are shipping so quickly. The product is evolving every month. Maybe they're like deciding between us and a couple other like alternatives, and that might be the tiebreaker. It's like, hey, Supademo might not have feature A, but I know their product experience is polished and top notch, and this is probably going to be live in 2 weeks based on their current like precedent, right, of how fast they ship and the craftsmanship that they care about. So that has helped, I think, on the growth side. But man, that momentum, not only for the founding team but for the entire team, it can make or break a company.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in it myself. I've worked for companies with slower momentum, fast momentums. Like, it's definitely a mood changer.
Yeah.
Last two questions. First one is, especially as an immigrant founder, one of the posts that I saw recently too, I know a lot of the conversation is posts because you do post a lot of really interesting stuff, but you said, maybe it's paraphrasing, but you're getting SF FOMO, right? Do you think location is important?
Oh man. I mean, I'd be a hypocrite to say it's not, because I moved for the location, right? So, but I would put an asterisk on that and say it depends. It very much depends on ambition. It depends on the type of company you want to build. I think it depends on your previous experience and network. I think that is like probably the most resounding when it comes to like importance. And like what you want to optimize for personally, right? So for me, like personally, I get incredible joy just from like learning and being in like the confluence of where the action is. I want to be where the most aspirational people across many different industries all come in and are trying to like make it, right? And I get a lot of energy from that. Some other people, that drains their energy, right? And it's counterintuitive or counterproductive, right? Especially if maybe they just want to build a lifestyle company or a slow growth company, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if that is their vision, I'd say like location doesn't matter as much. And to elaborate on my earlier point, same thing with network, right? If you have an established network, if you have like a track record of success, at that point, it doesn't matter. You could be in Zimbabwe and build $1 billion company, right? Elon Musk can move to, any city on earth, right? And with his network, he can build an enduring, incredible company, right? So I would say it depends. But if you want to make life easy for yourself, like my philosophy has always been, it's hard enough building a company. You got to get incredibly lucky, get exposed to people, network, talent, ideas. And by being in like a denser area with higher ambition, you're just going to get luckier, right? Yeah, by circumstance.
100%. Last question I ask all founders on the show is, what are you optimistic about?
I'm optimistic about the future of the economy, that and how AI will bring about progress and distribution of wealth in a way that wasn't possible in the past. I think a lot of people are not so bullish on AI being a positive contributor, net contributor to society, but I think I actually think differently. Yeah, and I might be wrong since things are moving at a breakneck speed and things are changing by the minute. But yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about the positive influences of AI in our day-to-day lives.
Well, with that, thank you, Joseph, for being on the show. If people want to reach out to you or even create demos of their own on Supademo, where do you want to direct them?
Yeah, so they can connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Joseph Lee. Might be hard finding me. That's a
I'll
common
add the
name.
link now.
Or you can you can find Supademo at Supademo Supademo.com.
Amazing. Thank you
Yeah,
for being on Foreign Founders.
awesome. Thanks, Andy.